Good to see you guys.
Hey, Donnie, I guess I'll kick it off here in a second, I think. I guess, what was today like? What has this time been like for you, adjusting to a new offense, a new coaching staff, in terms of schemes, and maybe just kind of understanding who they are?
Yeah, it's been going really well. It's been great getting to know the coaches and building relationships with them. Obviously, over these past 8 weeks, we've been meeting with our coaches a little bit and getting to know their philosophies, and obviously getting to know the scheme and things like that, which has been really good. Our coaches are really good at teaching us the schemes, and it comes down to us really just practicing and going through visualizations, all that kind of stuff to really grasp the scheme.
The way the schedule was set up with those 8 weeks of like strength and conditioning with Tank before getting into spring, I feel like spring's going to run like kind of late into April this year, which is a little different than I think maybe the schedule we're used to seeing. How has this helped you? What's been your experience in, kind of a stretched out process here?
Yeah, overall it's been great. Guys, obviously over these past 8 weeks we've worked with Coach Tank, and it's been awesome. A lot of guys are making a lot of really good gains. He's brought a tremendous amount of value to our team. He's teaching a lot of things such as just mindset, approach, and how we're attacking these days, stacking these days. So I think it's really been good to really focus on strength and conditioning as we have these past 8 weeks. So, yeah.
Thanks, Donnie. I appreciate it.
Donnie, good to see you. Just in the transition from Lovie Smith's staff to Brett Bielema's staff here, what are maybe some of the main kind of differences you've noticed in just the way Brett Bielema kind of runs things now that you've had those 8 weeks, like you said, and then this first spring practice? Just any significant changes you've noticed as far as just the way things are kind of run around here now?
Both guys are different. They've got their individual styles, both great leaders. I don't know if I could really compare them, but I know that there is obviously a change in some of the things we're doing, some of the ways we approach practice, some of the ways we approach preparation. There's a very we do a lot of football 101. I think Coach Spies talked about that before. That's kind of different, which I really think is crucial to our understanding of being a really smart football team and being aware in so many different situations.
And then as far as the receiver room goes, obviously you want to perform well in spring ball, but with the multiple absences from the receiver room, whether it be Josh going to the draft or guys transferring out of the program, how are you approaching this spring ball? Does it feel any different for you, your approach, as opposed to the previous season?
My approach is the same. Work hard, prepare, compete every day, and that's been my mantra for the however long I've been playing football. I'm a 4-year guy now, so I'm an upperclassman. I'm I think I consider myself more of a leader on this team and maybe on the in the receiver room. So embracing that and bringing some of my previous experiences and helping guys out. That's kind of my approach, and it'll continue to be that way.
Thanks, Donnie.
Hey, Donnie, I'm just wondering what George McDonald has brought to the receiver room. What sticks out about him as a coach so far?
Yeah, it's been awesome getting to know Coach McDonald. His previous record speaks for itself. He's done a lot of really great things. He's got a lot of coaching experience that he's brought. We've been meeting with him. I've been meeting with him individually. It's been really cool to learn some of the way he teaches technique, what his philosophy is, what his expectations are. So I've really enjoyed being around him and learning already, in the first 8 weeks, a lot from him. So,
can I ask you your initial impression so far of Caleb Griffin, wide receiver?
Caleb's an athlete, that's for sure. It's really cool to have him in the room. He's a great kid, one of my good friends. So I'm excited to work with him and transition's been good. I mean, he's an athletic kid, so he'll be all right.
I don't see a lot of questions, so I just want to ask one more. Does this receiver group, given what Colin said, do you guys have a chip on your shoulder entering this spring to show something? That there isn't a lot of experience outside of really yourself.
I think we all play at all times with chips on our shoulders. I think we're always looking to prove something, looking to prove that we belong in the field and that we can be playmakers. So the approach is the same. Guys are going to come, they're going to work hard. They're going to compete every day. And so that'll lead to, the competition in the room, getting better and guys looking to separate themselves.
Thanks, Donny.
Donny, going back to your time at Valpo, I would assume this is maybe at least the third different scheme you've had to learn now in college. What's the key to mentally being able to get through that and learn a new scheme? And what mentally do you have to begin with, in the sense of what kind of mental mindset do you have to kind of be able to do that? Because it can be comprehensive.
Definitely. Learning schemes is definitely a process. You're not going to get it on the first day and just, I got the whole playbook. I think it's important to break down some of the concepts, some of the formations, and just kind of, split everything up and try to learn everything in one day. I've transitioned pretty well between learning different offenses. It just comes with repetition and doing a little bit each day. Doing a little bit each day just leads to, bigger accomplishments and obviously learning the playbook, and it's going to grow, of course. So you've got to kind of learn fast, hit it every day.
Do you find yourself comparing what you'd already gone through, like the scheme that you pretty much perfected or at least learned, and say, okay, this is like this, or does that not work and you just want to clear your mind and just kind of start anew?
There are some comparisons. I like to clear my mind because sometimes the technique that was taught before is different. So I'm kind of just like, okay, this is, all, stuff that I've seen before, obviously, but it's different. Technique's different, maybe some of the tempo's different. But yeah, I see some carryover, but I think it's important to just continue to kind of, separate it, because you find yourself, getting into old habits and not doing, what we're coached right now to do.
Thanks, Donny. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hey, Donny, I just wanted to ask you real quick about Tony Peterson. How much have you gotten to talk with him, and what do you think he's going to bring to the offense?
Yeah, I've had a couple of conversations with Coach Peterson. He's a great guy. I really look forward to this spring and continuing to learn from him. Today was a great start. It's cool to be in the huddle with him. It's cool to hear him give some pointers out there. He's a real personal guy. He's a guy you can go up to and talk to whenever you want. So I'm excited to continue to work with him.
Great, thank you.
Hey, Donny, I wanted to follow up on the football 101. I've heard Coach Bielema talk about that, and it kind of got my attention. Do you remember the first time he introduced this to you, and what's it like, learning or having a formal name for it? It seems kind of unique to me.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of very important things that we've gone through that I've never heard of before. I've never really thought of. A lot of what he goes through is situational things. So it's important to, we're in mid-game. You got to point out those situations and you got to know how to react. And it's, not just the coaches that really need to know it. It's us players that need to know it so that we know what to expect. So I haven't, previously done things similar to that. I want to say the first time we ever did it, we were on Zoom, and I was just taking so many notes, just wow, this stuff is I've never thought about this before. We've done some things where we broke down some big games and seeing just crucial points in games. We're wow, that really affected the outcome of that game. So yeah.
Is there one thing that like you think like specifically that you learned over the course of these that sticks at the top of your mind?
Well, I can't give you guys the secrets, but no, I'm just kidding. I think the importance of winning first down, what the offense needs to do. Our goal is to gain 4 yards, right? You got to get 4 or more. Defense 3 or less. So that's one thing that I've learned.
Thanks, Donnie. Appreciate it.
How's it going?
Hey, Doug, how's it going?
It's going well.
What was it like being out there today? You didn't get this chance last year for spring ball. What was it like today to be out there just, in shells, I know, but just feeling?
Yeah, I think, anytime you get back out onto the field after, training for weeks and, having the break after the season, it's always exciting to get back out there. Obviously we got the new staff, so it's a little bit different. And that, adds to the excitement, that adds to, the anticipation that you had the past 8 weeks. Just, having those meetings, getting ready for it, leading up to it. And, now it's here. So it's time to put in the work.
Thanks, Doug.
Yep.
Doug, there's obviously a lot of talk among this new coaching staff about Brandon and trying to get him to talk. Having known him as well as you do, and playing a position where it would seem like you would need communication with the quarterback, I've really never gotten the sense that was really ever a problem since Brandon's gotten here. Can you kind of talk about, what he's like, in the midst of a game, and if it's ever been kind of an issue that he's kind of a lead by example kind of guy?
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily a problem. I just think, with the new staff coming in, they're looking at our entire, roster and saying, all right, what can each guy improve on? What can Brandon improve on as a player? They've done the same things with, me, all the O-line guys. What can we do to get better as players and people off the field? But no, it hasn't been an issue, in the game. In the game, obviously, you guys have seen a couple times he's gotten pretty animated. He can get excited too. I've lived with him for 2 years now. So, coming into a locker room, obviously you can be, it's a new environment, so you can be a little nervous at first. But as you are around the guys enough, you come out of your shell a lot more, and Brandon definitely has.
What's from your perspective as a veteran guy and a guy that's come back for another year, what's the level of excitement for having a different staff maybe try to get you to do new things that maybe you've never been asked to do in your college career, or just try to new techniques or just new stuff that they have ideas for you?
Yeah, I love it. Anytime you can get better as a player, whether that's schematically, little technique things that you can do, especially for offensive line. There's a million different things that you can learn, and it's always, evolving, and you can keep getting better. So, I've learned, something new every single time I've walked into, Coach B's meetings, the team meetings, or, whether it's an O-line meeting or an offensive meeting, I've learned something new every single time. And, that stays, constant. Today, I'm sure I'll learn something new as well.
Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Doug, I'm curious about the schedule. Like, you guys had those 8 weeks with Tank, and which has really pushed spring like later into the calendar here. This seems like, to me, kind of fairly unique. What do you think about the way that it's lined up, and how did those 8 weeks maybe help you guys going into this, like the actual football portion of this?
Yeah, I think, after last season, it was definitely, good to get the break. It was obviously very different last season, and, coming into it, it was nice to get that initial break, and then, 8 weeks to kind of reset. And, obviously with the new staff coming in, it was important to learn, all about the strength stuff, all about the coaching staff. And that's what that 8 weeks really was. It was a way for us to, form that initial relationship. So once that we got to spring, we have full trust in this coaching staff, and, we believe in them and the messages that they're, presenting to us. But it's definitely, we didn't have a spring last year, so I'm not really used to, you know, when spring starts and ends.
I wanted to ask about the staff because a lot of you super seniors, I guess, have done things like you got used to doing things a certain way, just given the, you know, just the same coaching staff for your first 4 years. How has this coaching staff like maybe met you guys in the middle? Is there an example of a way that they've, you know, that you can think that they've helped you out and kind of adapting to what they want to get done?
I would say, you know, in the offensive line room, you know, a lot of the stuff is, you know, pretty new. You know, the techniques that we're going to be using, things like that. Obviously, you know, basic schemes that, you know, everyone runs, you know, that'll be the same generally. But I would say that one thing that, you know, stuck from one staff to another, and really for three offensive line coaches for me is O-line pride. I'm sure you guys have seen, you know, a lot of us guys, you know, the offensive line use that term. But that's something that, you know, that's huge in our offensive line room. And that started, you know, before I got here. So, you know, I think it's awesome that, you know, Coach Miller was super open to keeping that and learning more about it and also adding, you know, new things into it that he believes we should be looking forward to.
Appreciate it, Doug. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, Doug, good to see you. Kind of building off a couple different questions, I guess. Well, what has it been like just to work under Brett Bielema and his staff? I mean, how have things felt significantly different for you working with this staff versus working with Lovie Smith's staff? And like you said, the previous coordinators, the previous O-line coordinators?
Yeah, I would say that, you know, there's definitely differences. Obviously, you know, Coach Smith and Coach Bielema have completely different, you know, personalities. I would say that, you know, since Coach B got here, he's put a massive emphasis on communication, you know, building relationships between the guys, building that trust. And, you know, a lot of that happened in that 8 weeks and, you know, it'll still continue to grow throughout the spring. But he's put a massive emphasis on that, which, you know, as a player, you got to love because you want to have that full trust in your coaches. But yeah, I'd say, you know, that's one thing that kind of sticks out for me. And then in terms of offensive line coaches, you know, it's pretty similar. You know, both guys are different. Both guys believe in different philosophies, and, you know, that comes out in their coaching and that comes out in the way they build relationships.
And then, like you said, you didn't have spring ball last year, and I know you've gone through spring ball before, but I guess what are your expectations for these next 15 practices, I guess 14 practices now, especially based on, you know, what happened those previous 8 weeks, like you said?
Yeah, I think, you know, this specific spring ball is huge for us. You know, with the new staff coming in, you know, you have to learn the new playbook. You know, you got to get, you know, normalized, I guess, with the way that, you know, the coaches coach, what they're expecting from you. What they're expecting from you as a leader, what they're expecting from you, you know, as an offensive lineman on the field. So all that stuff is massive for this spring. And, you know, I would say just, you know, burying yourself in that playbook and, you know, getting used to that and getting used to the new ways to call stuff. That's massive for, you know, the position that I play.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks.
Hey, Doug, hope you're well, man. Just wondering about Virtus after a year of starting. What kind of growth have you seen from him, and what kind of growth do you expect out of a guy after a year of experience like that?
Yeah, I think, you know, last season Virtus came a really long way. You know, he grew up a little bit last year for sure. You know, getting the first game experience is huge. And really, you know, this season it's all about building on, you know, what he did last year, the playing time that he got. You know, just keep on building, keep on chipping away every single day.
You said he grew up a lot. In what ways do you think he grew up a lot?
I think, you know, he got a lot more comfortable, you know, talking, you know, making some calls, and really just diving into football a little bit more than he did, you know, when he was younger. You know, the same way that I did when I was younger. It took older guys kind of helping me along the way to realize that, hey, we're going into this game. Maybe we need to watch, this specific tape. We got to look at these blitzes. So, I mean, that's exactly what he did. He just put his head down and kept grinding.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks.
Doug, when did you realize that you could actually do this, come back for an extra year? When did you start planning on it and decide? And how much of it had to do with that entire group of offensive linemen coming back together?
I think I'm not exactly sure right when it happened. Obviously, during the season, I didn't think about it much. I just tried to focus on, the games that we were playing, the games that we had left. But I think, after the season, a couple of people around the facility definitely mentioned it to me specifically just because I missed, a couple of games due to getting quarantined and stuff like that. And things didn't go exactly the way that I, wanted them to or planned. So that's definitely when I started thinking about it and, having those conversations in the locker room or, at our apartments with V and some of the other guys. That definitely played a huge role. These specific offensive linemen and, the other older guys that stayed on this team, I'm really close with and, I consider some of my best friends. So them coming back was definitely huge for me when I was making my decision.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Doug, I'm curious, for you personally, what's the biggest adjustment with the staff? Is it the schemes and the playbook, or is it just like learning everything about how they operate, what they expect? Is there one that's easier or more difficult than the other?
I think both have their own challenges, and I think both of them kind of work with each other. I think learning a scheme is definitely, it's tough, but, if you put enough time in, you can definitely learn that, and you can learn it, decently quickly. Not learn it well enough to coach it yourself or teach someone else it, but you can definitely learn it. But both of those things take time to do. And, like I said before, that's what we started with that week 1 of these past 8 weeks. And that's what we'll continue with, throughout these next 5 weeks. But it's definitely a transition, just being around new coaches, just learning what they expect and things like that.
And if I could really quickly, Coach Bielema talked about these football 101 sessions that he does. Do you remember the first time that was introduced to you, and like what have you learned, or is that something like fairly unique to like have a designation to what to call it on those?
Yeah, I think, everyone in the past for me has just called it, you got to learn football. I don't think I think Coach B is the first one that has, a specific name for it. And, I think it's good because right when he says it, exactly, you're probably going to learn something that you've never heard before, because he has a ton of experience and, that's, like I said, every single team meeting, I'm definitely learning something new. That's critical for the game of football.
Awesome, Doug. Thank you.
Thanks.
Doug, quick follow-up. You've been around Illinois football for a while, obviously. How much are you looking forward to that opportunity to play that Monday Night Football spring game, have it be on BTN? Is that something you're especially looking forward to in this last year?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, a lot of fun. Obviously, it'll be a little bit different than, the games that we'll play in the fall, but at the same time, there's going to be a ton of excitement. I'm sure, everyone will look forward to seeing what we're going to roll out there on the field and, looking at all the new things that are going to happen. But I'm definitely excited. It's a chance to compete. It's a chance to compete, under the lights in Memorial Stadium. We can't get any better than that.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks.
Doug, quickly to add on to Joey's question, is learning a new scheme, is the cliche correct that it's like learning another foreign language, or is it a little less complicated than that? In a sense, when you sit down and you're first trying to grasp a new scheme?
I would say I don't know any other foreign languages, so that sounds a lot harder to me. I think some schemes, some general concepts carry over from playbook to playbook. But really the biggest thing that changes is terminology, and, you know, different ways of understanding the game. It's really like, what are the coaches looking at that's different from, you know, what have the past coaches looked at? That's really, you know, the most confusing for me, definitely.
So you actually do, when you're learning a new scheme, kind of go back to, okay, this is kind of like what I learned here, or you try to wipe your mind clean and just try to, you know, just learn it from scratch, or do you try to do some comparison to what you've already learned in previous years?
I think there's definitely some comparison. It just carries over, and sometimes, you know, it'll be the same scheme just called, you know, a different thing. So, you know, based on, you know, if you know, Coach Miller is going to call it something completely different, then obviously you got to learn the new scheme and make sure, you know, you're keeping up with what he wants. But definitely you can use all the knowledge that you've learned in the past to help you learn this new playbook.
Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it.